What's up, movie crew? Welcome to the latest Let's Rank. Alright, if you saw one of my previous videos, I will have a pinned comment down below. I've really been affected by the passing of the voice of Batman, Kevin Conroy. So, I went through all of the DC animated movies where he is the voice of Batman. And I decided I would do my own personal ranking video for the animated movies featuring the man himself. Now, I do want to clear up, this is just my personal opinion. That does not mean this is the quintessential list. Although I think there's very few people that will be arguing with my top 3. And I also want to clear up, this will only be the movies where he is voicing Batman. So I will not be including the documentary Necessary Evil, and I will not be including Batman vs. Robin, where he voices Thomas Wayne. So, that being pushed aside, we have 13 movies to go through. So let's start with my number 13. All right, coming in last place is Batman Gotham Knight. Now, the reason this one's at the bottom of my list is because this is the one I watched the least. And there was one part, I forget if it was one of the special features or if it was commentary, but Bruce Timm mentioned that there was a couple of the animations that they got back from some of the studios where they felt like they had someone a little too young of a Bruce Wayne portrayal, given that at this point Kevin Conroy was already in his early 50s. So I definitely get that. And I do like some of the animation in here. I like the villains that they used. But at the end of the day, it's not one I watch often. It's one that I rarely ever revisit. So that's why it's at the bottom of the list for me. Alright, coming in at number 12, and I hate the fact that this one is low on my list, but we've got Batman the Killing Joke. I hate that this one is as low on the list as it is, because for the longest time, Mark Hamill was wanting to do an adaptation of The Killing Joke. And at one point in time, Mark Hamill was very much considering calling it quits voicing the Joker after Arkham City. So finding out that we were finally getting this, I was like, yes! On top of that, it played in my local theater, so I got to see this in theaters. Here's the problem. If you've never read the comic or graphic novel for The Killing Joke, it's not that large of a story. It is a one-shot. The overall story for The Killing Joke is probably, had they just used that, it would have been between 30 and 40 minutes. The added story with Batgirl did not make me care more about what happens to Batgirl in The Killing Joke. I'm still going to do the oh when that particular scene happens. Personally, I saw where one person mentioned The Man Who Laughs, or even some of these other side stories with the Joker would have been a better thing to do and give us something like what Marvel did with Hulk Versus. I've also got to say, this is probably the one performance that Kevin Conroy did where I wasn't as thrilled with his performance. I hate saying that, and I love this story. I really do. I have the comic, I have the graphic novel, I've got the 4K of the movie, I've got the steelbook of the movie. So believe me, putting this as low on the list as I have sucks. But at number 11, we've got Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. Alright. Now again, not a bad movie. This one is the sequel to Public Enemies. It has Kevin Conroy, we got Tim Daly, we got Summer Glau voicing Supergirl, we got Michael Ironside voicing Darkseid. But the reason I've got this one a little bit lower on the list is, for the most part, this really isn't a Batman-Superman storyline. It's more of a Supergirl origin story. And not only the movie itself, but the comics used Batman and Superman as a marketing ploy, essentially, to push Supergirl's story. Because they were reintroducing her. Which would be cool, but because of that, this doesn't feel much like a Batman-Superman movie like the first movie does. Yes, Batman and Superman are still doing their thing in this movie. And it is a very enjoyable movie. I'm going to be watching it probably tomorrow because I'm watching Public Enemies tonight. But this one's just not as good as the first one, in my opinion. At number 10, we've got Batman and Harley Quinn. Alright. This one, again, not a bad movie. But it felt like Bruce Timm was kind of shoehorning this into being part of the DCAU. Because ever since Justice League Unlimited ended, people have been clamoring for more stuff in that universe. I can't say too much. I'm guilty of it myself. And we got Kevin Conroy back. We got Lauren Lester, who voiced Robin at the beginning of Batman the Animated Series. And when they brought it back, he was Nightwing. But one of the parts where I'm going to be kind of nitpicking is, instead of bringing in Tara Strong, who replaced Arlene Sorkin when she retired, they brought in Melissa Rauch, who a lot of you may know as Bernadette from The Big Bang Theory. She did good, not going to lie. But this felt kind of contrived. And given the more serious tones we've gotten throughout the DCAU, yeah, it still had its funny moments. I mean, it's a cartoon series with the younger audience in mind. This was a full-blown comedy for the most part. And even with some of the other things that they try to put in here, it still felt a little weird. And it felt like putting this in the DCAU was forced. So, enjoyable movie. Definitely recommend watching it if you've never seen it before. But I can't say this is one of my favorite movies featuring the voice of Batman. Alright, at number 9, we've got Justice League versus the Fatal 5. Alright, I gotta say, these next few, I had difficulties ranking them because I wasn't sure where I was going to put each movie where, up until I got to pretty much 9, 8, 7, and 6 are kind of in the same area for me. But I did put this one at number 9 because same thing with Gotham Knights. This is just one I don't watch as much as some of the other ones that are higher up on the list. Now, for me personally, unlike Batman and Harley Quinn, this does feel like a DCAU movie. And even though it has Jessica Cruz instead of Jon Stewart, it is mentioned why we have Jessica Cruz instead of Jon Stewart. This movie also introduces the Legion of Superheroes, and personally, I think it's a good movie. At number 8, we've got Batman Mystery of the Batwoman. Alright. So personally, out of the 3 direct-to-video well, 3 movies, one of them was theatrical, that are directly tied to Batman the Animated Series, this is probably, again, just the one I watched the least. It's not a bad movie. It's just not one I normally watch. Solid movie. The one thing that does kind of, I notice, is when the DCAU made the transition from Batman and Batman Beyond to Justice League, Kevin Conroy's mentioned in interviews that he was told to make the Batman voice and the Bruce Wayne voice a little more similar than what they were in Batman the Animated Series. And it starts in this movie. And it was a little weird because in Batman the Animated Series, there's times where you see Bruce being nice to people and just the way he interacts with everyone. And in this one, he's not as... That Bruce Wayne feels a little different from the Bruce Wayne we get in here, even though we only see Bruce Wayne here and there throughout the movie. And I also want to take a moment to recommend, if you don't have this one, you should pick it up. It's not that expensive. But there is a nice little short film on here with Catwoman called Chase Me. Recommend checking that out. At number 7, we have Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. Alright. I have this one below my number 6 for a couple of different reasons. For starters, there were more plans for this movie than what we ended up with, because at the time, that was when Batman and Robin was coming out, with the main villain not only being Mr. Freeze, but also being played by Arnold. Well, the movie bombed. So this got pushed to the side, and it took a little while for us to finally get this movie. And by the time we did, it's got a short run time. It's got a decent story, but you can tell that there were more plans for this than what Warner Brothers ended up going with in the end. Yeah, Warner Brothers and DC have been having issues a lot longer than just the last few years. The thing I do like about the Blu-ray release is that it does have all of the Mr. Freeze episodes, and they have it in order and how you should watch them, including where you should watch Sub-Zero. So I like that.